to return on a recording so we got this for the people who are, yes, the question was, for those who did not hear that part, who are watching later, if you are doing Duolingo, which I really, really highly recommend, and I recommend the web base rather than the app, because the app is annoying. The app prompts you every like 3 hours. Why haven't you done your lesson? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Duolingo says Y-O, the word for I, which you're going to get soon. Well, which you've heard a little bit already, and you've read a little bit already. Yo. In Italian, it's I-O. In French, it's J-E. In Spanish, Y-O, yo. You can pronounce it yo. In Duolingo, you're probably hearing it as yo. That little je, yes, that's that little Dr. Zhivago, that little, not zh, but je, a little je before the y sound. It's common. It's one of the range of sounds with that y sound. And there is a range that is acceptable. And people sometimes kind of have conniptions over, am I doing it wrong? As long as you are close to a y or a j, probably you don't want to give it the strong jo, because that sounds very Buenos Aires. Okay. And that is very, very geographically specific. My students, when I was teaching high school, who came from Mexican families, and of course would hear some at home, and they'd understand, you know, various parts of what mom and dad and grandma and grandpa were saying. Abuelita would say, oh, Argentinos, son Italianos, the Argentines, they're really Italian. Oh. Hablan italiano. En la Argentina hablan italiano. They speak Italian in Argentina. Yeah, well, and so, you know, they have their stereotypes of that kind of accent as well, which is partially true because there are many Italian immigrants going way back into the 1800s with Argentina. So anyway, okay, vale magnifico. And that is a great reminder that, yes, a great thing for you to build lots of vocabulary relatively quickly is to use Duolingo. You know, I'll put a little reminder in our email this week with that. Duolingo will build a lot of vocabulary. It's not good for telling you the whys. It has little hints which it tells you it does grammar, but it doesn't really tell you why. And sometimes you may not understand. It's supposed to be obvious, the pattern they're showing you, but you know what? No es tan obvio. It's not always so obvious. And I know this because I use Duolingo for French. I use it for myself for German. And there are many times where it's like, I have no idea what rule you're kind of drilling here. What pattern am I supposed to follow? Yeah. Okay. Vale, magnífico. Vamos a practicar con pronunciación. Vamos a practicar con el plural. We're going to talk about plural of nouns. The plural of nouns. So we're going to have things that start to bleed out or knit together, or however you want to look at. Things are going to start to interlace today, which is a little challenging. If I had you 5 days a week, this would break down and kind of knit together a little faster, but we need to kind of knit it together. Things are going to start to blur, merge, whatever you want to think of it, because they just do, because things won't be neat little word for word for word. But plural, we'll talk about that. The masculine, feminine, the whole gender thing, we're going to talk about that. And I want to get into a brief introduction of a few survival, really essential introductory verbs. And the very, very easy verb, the one we're going to spend the most time on, is I. That word I. There is, there are. And we'll spend some time with that. And part of your homework will be tied into that. Y gracias, thank you. Gracias a ustedes. Thanks to all of you. I had real fun listening to all your pronunciation. I know for a lot of people, that is really, it is kind of, wow. It's nerve-wracking, isn't it, to record yourself? when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was young, you know, I had to record in a language lab booth. Anybody remember that from high school, the language lab booth?
Yep.
Yeah, the little carols you'd have, you know, you're blocked off. And, you know, I would watch that tape, that tape, that's how long ago, that would whirl around and around and around. It's like, you are to record for 10 minutes. 10 minutos, 10 minutes, oh my God. And you watch that little tape whirl around, wondering, when is 10 minutes over? Okay. Excelente. Vamos a comenzar. Vamos a comenzar con C. The one thing I want you to have handy, and I'll show it to you right now. I want you to have that pronunciation page. Whether you pull it up on your computer, if you're able to split your screen, have two screens on at once, that's great. If you can't, don't worry. But bring it up. We're going to look at those C and G pages. And I think that's the only one we're going to look at today. Yeah, because I need to get into meatier stuff. Okay, and I'll take that off for just a moment while you look for those pages. And I do want to tell you, do not feel pressured or embarrassed or anything when you're recording, because I know there will be moments where you feel like it's coming out in a halting fashion. Es normal, that's normal. And the purpose is to practice. And for me, if I notice any really obvious blunders, to point it out. The one thing I want you to keep in mind through all of this is that we're branching out beyond the whole vowel thing. Okay, so we're getting into some other letters that are not a, e, I, o, u. But as we incorporate these new sounds and practice these new sounds, we are going to every single time revisit those vowels of a, e, I, o, u. And the most important thing for you to focus on is to remember, even when we practice a new sound, those vowels are key. Those vowels of a, e, I, o, u are actually half the battle, almost more than half the battle. If you are misunderstood, it is more likely because you've messed up something with a, e, I, o, u. And our greatest fight, because our brains are hardwired into English. Our brains flip into English without us even being aware of it. We anglicize words. So words like canyon, because you know canyon and your brain so desperately wants to say canyon, it comes out canyon sometimes. So watch yourself. Canyon is muy gringo. Cañón. So you always have to be thinking about those vowels constantly, even when you're pronouncing or practicing nia as a sound. Always keep the a, e, I, o, u in mind. A will never deviate into any other sound. O will never deviate into a different sound. E is almost always a. Yeah, it's always a. E is always that sound. The U, once in a while, that letter U will go silent. You will see that today, but very infrequently. Most of the time it is U, okay? The U is the other one that is tough for English speakers because we want to say EU, pure. Here's an English thing, pure, is that U sound doesn't exist in Spanish. It's always U, puro. Puro, not puro. And you want to say puro because you know the word pure. And it does mean pure. Okay, so puro. So watch those vowels. But today we're going to look at the C and the G. The C and the G. Se, I, re. The names for those two letters are se for the letter C, I, re. Se. Se. And I'm going to put these up here right now because even though C and G are obviously separate letters, se, I, re, re. Wow, that h sound comes back. Re. That's the name of the letter G. Re. 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 G. Se. Okay. Vale. C and G, unlike A, E, I, O, U, unlike the Nya of Enye, unlike the J of the double L, unlike the Che of that CH together, Se y Je, they have not one sound, but potentially two sounds. The sound that Se makes, the sound that Je makes, is totally dependent on the letter that comes after it. And based on the letter that comes after Se, the letter that comes after Je, that determines how we're going to pronounce that letter. Okay, bien. Y es fácil, and it's easy because they follow the same kind of pattern. So I'm going to kind of break it down this way. If you're watching my screen. C-A, C-O, C-L, and then C and a consonant. And that consonant is usually going to be a C-R or a C-L, but a consonant, something that's not A, E, I, O, U. When the letter after C is one of these, it's always the k, that hard case sound. So that's not hard, right? Ka, ko, ku, kre, kla, you know, okay, bien. And similarly with G, if the letter that comes after it is A, if the letter that comes after it is O, and usually if the letter that comes after it is U, it's going to get the G, G, G. So in other words, or a consonant, you know, like GL, for example, you know, or GR, yeah. So similarly, the hard sound of K, the hard sound of G that we're accustomed to in English, that happens when the letter following is A or O or U or a consonant. Bien? Okay. So we're going to see those in a moment. The soft sound, which for C is going to really be S, like an S. Like an S in English, is going to be if the letter coming after C is an E or the letter coming after C is I. So E or I following the C, it's S, like an S. Okay? Se, si, se, si. Those are the sounds. Similarly, if the letter after G is E, or the letter after G, G, is I. It's a soft sound, but the soft sound is going to sound like that jota, the J that you did. It's going to sound exactly like the jota, that throaty H sound. If you can't throw the big flumwad with the throaty H, just an English H will suffice. So for G, the letter G, it's G, G-E, or G, G-E. Bien? G, 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 G. Bien. Okay, vale. That is the rule. Spanish is exceedingly phonetic. Part of that was set up by the old kings and queens and all that stuff, literally. And it was set up for reasons of commerce, to make it easier for people to, you know, do business when they were traveling through Spain. That was the reason that, you know, Spanish wound up being phonetic. Okay, here we come. We're going to practice the hard sounds, the K and the G, the K and the G. And you will go off later for homework to practice these sounds on that little recording later on. But we'll take a look at these together. So I'm going to try to make sure that I pause and give you time to respond and do these sounds in chorus all together. We're going to bring up our words using the K sound, the G sound, okay? Bien. We're going to look at our C, our K sounds. Okay. Canta, canta, repitan, canta.
Canta. Canta.
Right, and I put in English what that means, just so you know, not that it really matters, but canta. And the next one, we're going to have a UE together, so an ue, ue, cuesta,
Cuesta.
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 Cuesta es muy importante. You may want to star that
Cuesta.
word cuesta. Cuesta.
Cuesta.
Cuesta. It means it costs. And if you want to ask cuánto cuesta, how much does it cost? You need to know that word. Cuánto cuesta. Cuánto cuesta.
Cuesta. Cuesta.
Our next word is corre.
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 Corre. Corre.
Corre.
Corre.
That's got that strong R sound in the middle. We're not
Corre.
focusing on that. So if you can't trill your R yet, don't worry about it. But the K is important. Corre.
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 That means it runs, she runs, he runs. Okay, the next word is raw. It's also a slang for hungover. What a useful word. Okay, crudo.
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 The next word means clear or, of course, claro.
Claro. Claro. Claro.
The next word is what you put in this. Crema.
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 Crema. Crema.
The next is a clear soup. Okay. The word for broth, caldo.
Caldo. Caldo.
Caldo.
Caldo.
The next word is a drinking glass. This would be for an alcoholic beverage, generally. It would be like a goblet-sized glass, okay? Copa.
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 Copa. Copa is something that people use conversationally because they may ask, do you want to go out for a drink? And if somebody asks, do you want to have a drink with me? ¿Quieres tomar una copa? ¿Quieres tomar? Do you want to take? ¿Quieres tomar una copa?
Una copa.
Una
¿Quieres
copa.
tomar una copa?
¿Quieres tomar una copa conmigo?
Una
You want to
copa.
have a little drink with me? Okay.
Sí.
Sí, claro. 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 Claro que sí, of course. Okay, so we've got our k. Okay, we're going to go down the page and look on this left-hand side, a la izquierda. We're going to look at the CE and the CI, the se, si, se, si, like in English S, okay? And it doesn't matter where the C is in the word, as long as the letter after it is e, the letter after it is e, you get the se, si sound. So we have the word for zero, which is not spelled with a Z. It is cero.
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 We got the word for center, or this is also used to designate a downtown area. Like voy al centro, I'm going downtown. Centro.
Centro. Centro.
Centro. Okay.
Centro.
Control.
We've got the word for cent. Centavo.
Centavo. Centavo.
Centavo. Bien. Okay. We've got the word for appointment, like at the doctor, or a date. Not the date on the calendar, a date like I'm going out with some guy, that kind of date. Okay. Cita.
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 Cita. Muy bien. Now we've got a shortened word. The long word is bicicleta. Bicicleta. Bicicleta, bicycle, but the way they say bike, they shorten it as bici.
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 Okay. Next word is important because it's a number word, and numbers are always important so that you understand prices. So you may want to start this word. This is a word for 100. It looks like a little bit like our word for century. It is ciento.
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 Ciento. Sometimes that word ciento gets shortened to cien. Sometimes they cut off the TO. You'll see in a week or so, 2 weeks maybe, why it gets shortened. But ciento, 100, ciento.
Ciento.
Ciento. Okay. And the word for sky or heaven, cielo.
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 Okay. Now, a little
Cielo.
sidebar to this. This CECI only in Spain, if you travel to Spain, so nowhere else. The CE or the CI has a different sound in Spain. And it sounds like the in the. So if I were at, and boy, this affected me because I knew that was done, but I didn't have to actually do it until I was a student and traveled there. And then that was kind of an issue. And they knew, boy, okay, you learned Latin American Spanish. So, you know, it would be one of those. But here's how all those words sound if you're in Spain, but only in Spain. Cero, centro, centavo, tita, bici, ciento, cielo. In some videos you will that I will assign to you from time to time, you'll hear a lot of th going on. That just means that person is from Spain. That's all it means. It's an accent, like people who are from Britain will say dance, not dance, right? Okay, so it's just a dialect variation. It sounds very cultured. Yeah. And to the Latin American, that's like, oh, it's Spanish. Like, you know, like, oh, that person's from London, you know, King's English instead of American Spanish. Okay. Bien. We're going to look at our G, our letter G. Okay. But we're going to start with the hard sound, the g sound. So let's take a look at g.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sí, claro.
Corey runs. So it's a C word,
Mhm.
close in spelling, but expensive car would be caro.
Carro, right. The word for car that you drive in Latin America is carro.
No.
Carro.
Carro.
If you trill the R a little less, if instead of carro, and you'll see this later next week, it is caro, not a strong R, caro, then it changes it to expensive. There's a C-A-R, one R, O, caro, meaning costs a lot. There's a carro, meaning beep, beep. Bien. Sí. Okay? ¿Entiendes? Understand? Sí.
That's a Duolingo question.
Okay. Sí. Carro. And there are different words for car. Depending on the region you're in, some people like to use carro. Some people like to use coche. So if you hear coche it is also car, but more in Mexico. You know, some parts of Colombia, they still use coche. It really depends on the region you're in. Just like we have auto or car. They use auto as well for car, by the way. So, okay. Bien. Okay. G. Just the G sounds. This is the easy part. Vamos a ver. Let's see. Agua.
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 Gafas.
Gafas.
Gafas, sí. Bien.
Gafas.
Goma.
Goma.
Goma, rubber, the substance. Bien, sí. Legumbre. Legumbre. That's one of the words for veggie. They use a couple different words for veggie. Magnifico.
Magnifico.
If something is great, you may hear people, oh, magnifico. Yeah, magnifico, magnificent, great. So something is super fabulous. Okay, fabuloso. Next, we've got the word for big or large. Grande. Sometimes you hear that word shortened to gran, in which case it usually means great as opposed to big, but grande is the plural. Grande. Okay. Next is one of the many words, because they have many, for happy. Alegre. If you play music, you know, that looks like a word that you're familiar with and how to play music in a happy kind of way, okay? And the word that means keep something, keep this, okay? Or it could mean guard it. Guarda. And I was a little more specific in this, the G-U-A or G-U-O, that'll be the g. Okay. We're going to shift to the one, this is the one that will be harder for you, a little harder. This sounds like the jota in Spanish, the ch, exact same sound. If you can just do the h, that's okay. We can live with that. I'm going to have two ch sounds in this name. Jorge,
Jorge.
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 Jorge. Jorge.
Here's the word that English speakers violate all the time because your brain wants to say general, but it's general.
General.
And you punch the al more. General.
Wow.
General. General.
You hear this word a lot because people will say en general, por lo general, and they'll be saying generally. Okay? General. The word for people, which oddly, even though it indicates a group, is a singular word. Gente.
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 Gente means people. Gente.
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 La gente. Okay? The word for page. Página.
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 And that accent on the ah means we punch that more. Página.
Página.
Okay?
Página.
Next is a word that will be hard for you to say because you want to say gymnasio, and it is not that. It is, and we have to split it into smaller words, or smaller syllables rather. Gimnasio.
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 They do not shorten that word to
Gimnasio.
gym like we do, gym. It is always
Gimnasio.
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 Gimnasio. If you're having a hard time with
Gimnasio.
pronunciation, split the word into syllables and slow it down. That is okay for practice. Gimnasio. Gimnasio.
Gimnasio.
Yeah. Next, we've got the word for energy, but it will sound a little bit different. And we're going to punch it towards the end. It'll be energía.
Energía.
Energía. Energía.
We're going to try that one again. Energía.
Energía. Energía.
Energía. Okay. And next, here's a really
Energía.
long word, so we're going to slow it way down. Vegetarian, and people know this word in restaurants because they'll have it on their menu just like we do, or people may ask a waiter about it as they do in here in the States as well. Vegetariano. Vegetariano.
Vegetariano.
Vegetariano.
Vegetariano.
Vegetariano.
Okay.
Vegetariano.
Vegetariano.
When it comes out fast, it's vegetariano.
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 Yeah.
Vegetariano.
We're going to look at a little odd section of this. GUE and GUI is sometimes a little bit problematic. GUE and GUI, when you see that specific kind of combination, the U serves one purpose. And the U serves the purpose of, hi, I'm here to make the G to go to a g sound. Okay? This happens for grammatical reasons, which you don't want to know right now. But the U when it's GUE, the U when it's GUI goes silent because it has a job to make the G to go to a g sound. So it'll sound like GUE, ge, or GUI, gi. It'll sound like that. So we've got about 6 examples to practice with that. The word for war, guerra,
Guerra.
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 GUE, guerra.
Guerra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under that, we've got guía.
Guía. Guía.
Right.
Yeah.
See. Next, we've got llegue.
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 Llegue. Llegue.
Llegue.
Yeah.
Which means, llegue means arrive, but it means like get there. Like get there at 5. Llegue a las 5. Llegue a las 5. Get there at 5 o'clock. Okay? Bien. We're going to look at the second column. Pay as a command. Pague.
Pague.
Okay.
Pague.
Pague.
Pague aquí. Pague allí. Pay there. Pague allí. Pague allí.
Pague
Okay.
allí.
Oh.
The next word is also a command. It's used when people give you a command to say like, oh, keep going. Like they're giving you directions. Keep going straight. They'll say this word, sigue.
Sigue.
Okay.
Sigue.
Sigue.
Okay.
Sigue.
Our word seg into something else comes from that same thing way back in Latin. You know, when you seg into a new topic, it means you're continuing on in a different
Sigue.
direction,
Sigue.
right?
Sigue.
Sigue. And the word, this is also a very common word. If they say the next day, they may use this word. Siguiente.
Siguiente.
Siguiente. I picked this because it's a common word. Siguiente.
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 Siguiente. And you'll notice there really aren't a lot of silent letters. You know, we're used to a silent E at the end of gate. That doesn't happen. But this silent U sometimes does happen. The silent U happens only if it's a combination of GUE or GUI. Okay? Now, we're going to take a look at not the B and the B, but this odd little thing down here. And I'm going to even try. Can I make this bigger? Well, sure I can. Sure I can. This is an odd combination, folks, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on it because you don't see it a lot. You don't hear it a lot. Okay? But we're going to let you know that this exists, but I don't even want you to practice this on the practice page unless you feel like it. If you see GUE or GUI with that little double dot, which in German they call an umlaut, I think it's called diéresis in Spanish. The double dot, the diéresis, means, oh, I know, it should be ge, it should be gi. But the double dot says, you know what? We want you to actually say the U sound. The job of the U here is not to make the G go hard. We want you to actually pronounce this U sound instead of making it silent. And it doesn't happen in a whole lot of words. So only know it exists. It's words like pinguino. Penguin. Like, actually, this next word is used a lot. Vergüenza.
Vergüenza.
Vergüenza means shame. You may say, why would this be an important word to know? Because sometimes people like to use the word sin vergüenza. Sin vergüenza. Sin means without. Sin vergüenza is something somebody may yell to somebody who's being a real jerk. So if you hear somebody shouting sin vergüenza, it means what a jerk. Sin vergüenza. They are so lowly, they are shameless. They have no shame. They're so stupid. They're such a jerk. They have no shame. They should be ashamed, but they're not because they're a jerk. Okay. And this word, which you hear a lot in Mexico, which people use sometimes to indicate a blonde person, or sometimes even kind of a substitute for gringo, is güero. Güero, if you learn no other word, know that güero's got that little dot. Güero. Güero is something, oh, what a blondie person. Güero. Yeah, kind of a slang word. Okay, got it. Yeah? Okay, I would like you to practice your k, g, s, ch sounds, hard and soft, on the recording. And I'll give you a slot in there, in the email with a link to get you in there for next week. Okay, muy bien. Vamos a ver. Let's see. Preguntas. Any questions before I siguiente, get into the next thing? No? Bien. Okay. Fantástico. We're going to talk a little bit. Here's where things are going to start to knit together, because we're going to start to talk about plurals, and we're going to start to talk about the verb hay, and we've got to address this nasty thing of plural and gender, or I should say number and gender. That's a more accurate way to describe it. Number and gender. In Spanish, unlike in English, when we're using nouns like dia, day, versus dias, days, you'll notice we had in our greetings buenos dias, not good day, but good day, and even more literally, goods days. The noun like dia or dias, if the noun is plural, anything that talks about that noun also has to go plural. If the noun is masculine, any word that relates back to that noun has to be masculine. If the word is feminine, anything that talks about that noun has to go to feminine. This is talking about nouns. Nouns are people, places, things. This has nothing to do with verbs. It has to do with nouns, people, places, things. All nouns are masculine or feminine and singular or plural. Therefore, gender, masculine, feminine, number, either singular or plural. Okay. And the noun is the little sun of its universe. Everything that talks about that little noun has to correspond to that little noun. So if you want to say a good day, the word and the word good will have to agree with the word day. We don't do this at all in English. But essentially, that will always happen in Spanish. If you say the red car, it would have to be the masculine car, masculine, red, masculine. Every word that talks about car has to go into that masculine singular form. So we need to know both masculine and feminine. What does that mean? And sometimes I can tell from the way the noun looks, whether it's masculine or feminine. Sometimes I have to memorize it. We also need to know how you make things plural. So the easiest thing to master with that is how to make things plural, because it's going to look a lot like how you make English things plural. So good, we're going to have things that help us with that idea of how to make nouns plural. So we're going to tackle that because it's the easier of the two to tackle. We're going to watch a super short video. Don't worry about taking notes because you will get the link to this in the email I will send you. No worries. Okay. Vamos a ver. I need to get all my little buttons pushed. Push my buttons. Share my sound. Here we go. Maria. This is Maria de Colombia. She's from Colombia. And she's going to talk about what to do with making things plural. Making things, that's very big. Making nouns plural in Spanish. A ver.
Today in lesson number 3, we'll talk about how to form plurals in Spanish. But wait, what is a plural? It means more than one. We will start with a very quick explanation and then we'll move on to some practice. Let's get started. Remember we use masculine el and feminine la to say the. These words also have plurals. If the word is masculine, el will become los. And if the word is feminine, la will become las.
Okay, so that's the first thing. The word for the will be masculine, feminine, singular, plural, depending on the noun it's talking about. The words for the is split up into 4 different words. El, masculine, only one. La, feminine, only one. Los, the word for the, if it's masculine, more than one. Las, feminine, more than one. So we usually group el, la, los, las with a noun because you're kind of indicating whether that noun is masculine or feminine and singular or plural.
The same thing applies to un and una.
Okay, here's a harder one. The word for the has 4 words. El, la, los, las. The word for a or some also goes masculine, feminine, singular, plural. So the way you say like a car, not the car, but a car, is un or una. Un or una, the word for some, because we don't have, what's plural of a? It's some. Unos or unas, okay? El, la, los, las, those are called definite articles. Definite means the, a specific thing, like the cup. I mean this specific one, the cup. If I have a whole bunch, it might be a cup. Get me a cup. I don't care which one. A is an indefinite article. Indefinite because it means get me anything out of the group. A cup means any old one. The cup means I want something specific. Definite, the, indefinite, Okay, here she's going to show you the indefinite, starting with un.
Un becomes unos and una becomes unas. This is very important. If the article is plural, the word will be plural. And if the word is plural, the article will be plural. Like the word el perro will become los perros. Now let's learn the 3 most important things you need to know when learning how to form plurals in Spanish. Number 1, to most words in Spanish you will add an S to make it plural.
Yay, how easy. Car, cars. Okay, to most words. So here's the real lowdown. If the last letter of the noun, like perro, is a vowel, tag an S on. Well, wow, that's not hard at all. No es difícil. Es fácil. It's easy.
Like in la llave.
La llave, key, like a key to a room, a door.
Las llaves. La casa. Las casas. El niño. Los niños. Number 2. If the word finishes in a consonant, add ES.
So if the last letter of the noun is not a, e, I, o, u, if it's a consonant, an N, an R, an L, if it's a consonant, instead of adding S, you add ES. Well, okay, that's like saying churches. That's not hard either. No es difícil.
Like in la mujer.
La mujer, the woman. If I want to say the women, it becomes this.
Las mujeres. El corazón.
El corazón, heart.
Los corazones. El comedor. Los comedores.
So last letter, consonant, add ES. Like churches. No es difícil, not hard.
Number 3. Does the word end in Z? Change that Z for CES.
Okay, now that may sound like it's hard, but it isn't. Not very many words end in Z, secta. But the rule in Spanish is that when a noun ends in Z, or even when an adjective ends in Z, this is a phonetic thing. Spanish cannot have ZES. The letter E can never come after the letter Z in Spanish. I don't know why. That goes back like 1,000 years. It's just the way it is. Z changes to C and you add ES. That's all that happens. The Z just disappears and it changes into that C. Okay? So Z changes to CES. The sound is the same. It's still a S sound. So it's the spelling that changes, not the sound.
Like el pez, los peces.
Okay, instead of fish, well, we have fish. Peces. Pez ends in a S, pez and peces.
El lápiz.
Lápiz, pencil. This is a really common word because we use un lápiz, no? Un lápiz. Okay, lápiz And lápiz sounds, ends in a sound, and it still ends in that sound. It's just a spelling thing.
Los lápices.
Okay, so the spelling thing is not a huge deal for you unless you're going to write lots of stuff in Spanish, which you're probably not going to. You're going to in practice, but not when you speak to people.
Now let's see if you and Cody got it. I'm gonna show you some words and you and Cody will give me the plural form.
Es su esposo. Cody is so cute. Cody is her husband. Cody is going to make you feel really, really, really normal because Cody's reaction to all of this is exactly what your reaction is. And you will see. And literally his eyes roll around to the ceiling trying to figure out, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Muy normal. So his reaction is completely typical.
You ready? Let's get started.
Los perros.
Los perros.
Los perros.
Las narices.
Las narices.
Las luces. Las luces.
Remember, this one is las luces.
Los hombres.
Los hombres.
Las acetes.
So él is masculino. El aceite.
Los acetes.
Remember, this one is los aceites.
Los papeles.
Los papeles.
Las nubes.
Las nubes.
Los espejos.
Los espejos.
Los comedores. Los comedores.
This one is los comedores.
Los árboles. Is that right?
Los árboles. So how did you do? Did you get them all right? Let us know in the comments below. Let's review what we learned today. Today we learned that if you want to make a word in Spanish plural, most of the time you will just have to add an S. Like in perro, perros. If the word finishes in a consonant, you will just add ES. Like in mujer, mujeres. And finally, if the word ends in Z, simply replace the Z for CES. Like in pez, peces. Don't forget to change the article to plural as well, like in el espejo, los espejos, or like in la nube, las nubes. That's it for today's lesson. If you want to know a little...
Okay. Bien, magnífico. Vale. Antes de practicar, before practicing, ¿hay preguntas? Other questions? No, okay, we're going to practice this a little bit. No es difícil, it's not really that hard, but here's what I want you to think about, because you have already seen this concept in your book a little bit already. You've already started to see that word, el, la, los, las. We're going to isolate it a little bit more, right? We are going to talk a little bit. I am going to bring my whiteboard back before we do this practice. We want to clear this up. Okay, doesn't want to clear out. We'll have to. Okay, yeah, better. Okay, we're going to take a really quick look at this. Here's what I want you to think about, because in the written practice, we're going to take a look at a screen, which I'll give you I'll give you the link to this screen we're going to eventually use so that you can actually do the written practice yourself if you would like to. The screen is not going to use the el, la, los, las. So I do want to take a look at that concept. essentially in Spanish, you've got two kinds of articles like we do in English. You've got definite articles, words meaning the, and indefinite articles meaning an, or some. The in English has no plural, it's just the, okay? But in Spanish, essentially, you've got to know that there are four words for the. There's el for masculine, there's la for feminine, there's los for masculine, more than one, there's las, feminine plural for more than one. So essentially, if you want, you're saying not the cars, you're saying those cars. Every word that talks about cars has to go plural if cars is plural. So that's the way you need to start to think. Everything is going to march across plural. Is going to be un, or, una, right? Un for masculine. And un, by the way, gets shortened. Uno means one, but un gets shortened. Un masculine, una feminine, unos, the O comes back for masculine plural, unas for feminine plural. So what she was talking about in that video was just using an article, either the with the thing or with the thing, okay? That's what she's talking about with articles, okay? Vale, magnífico. Vamos a ver, we're gonna take a look. We're gonna not focus so much on the articles right now with this practice, but I will send you a link for this particular page. We're gonna take a look here on how to make things plural. So we're gonna focus on the sounds here, and it's very, very easy. Plural, we either tag on an S, an ES, or changing Z to C, which you do in writing, but of course we don't really care about because for speaking, the sound will be the same. It's a spelling change. So we have some examples here. Italiano, italianos. Inglés, ingleses. Lápiz, lápices. So we've got an example of each. We've got an example of a last letter, italiano, being a vowel, just add S. A last letter of the noun being a consonant, add ES, Inglés to ingleses, or Z changing to C and adding ES, lápices, okay? So you'll get a copy of this later to actually do the writing and test yourself. But let's see if we can figure out what these will be. Escritor, which means writer, a person who does this for a living, becomes
Escritores.
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 Escritores. Alemán, which would mean a German guy, a man who happens to be
Alemanes.
Alemanes. And by the way, that accent mark would drop. Don't worry about that so much because with speaking, it doesn't matter so much right now. Alemanes.
Alemanes.
The last letter is an N, a consonant, so we have to add ES. Alemanes. Mexicano becomes
Mexicanos.
Mexicanos, Mexicans, right? Ends in a vowel. Oh, we've got a Z. The Z will change to C. Luz, light, becomes
Luces.
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 Piloto is a cognate. Piloto is the person who flies your plane, right? So pilots becomes
Pilatos.
pilotos. Okay?
Pilatos.
Pilotos. Holandesa would mean a lady who is Dutch, a Dutch lady. It would become
Holandesas. Yes.
Holandesas. We just tag on an S. The word juez means a judge, a guy in black robes who presides over the court. Juez changes the Z to C. We add on the add S. ES becomes
Jueces.
jueces. Jueces, okay? Bicicleta ends in a vowel to make it plural.
Bicicleta. Bicicletas.
Estudiante ends in a vowel. You just tag on an S.
Estudiar.
Estudiantes. Estudiantes. Dólar.
Estudiantes.
Estudiantes. I'm sorry, I went too fast. Estudiantes. Just an S at the end. Dólar, a dollar.
Dólares.
Mhm. Now, this word is important to get right because there's a word dolor, which means a pain. Un dolor del hombro. Ooh, pain in my shoulder. Dolor de cabeza, a headache. It's not dolor, it's dólar.
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 Dólar,
Dólares.
which means
Dólar.
dollar. It's a monetary unit.
Dólar.
Dólares.
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 It keeps the accent mark on the O.
Dólar.
Dólares.
Dólares.
The next is the word for table. Mesa becomes
Mesas.
Mesas.
mesas. The word hospital, and we ignore that H. Hospital.
Hospital.
Hospitales.
Hospitales.
Hospitales. We add an ES. Bar.
Barres.
Bares. Yeah, bar means what you think.
Bye.
Okay, now you're going to notice something. When I will send you to the link to this page, and by the way, only print page 1 because I had to combine this with something else, and for some reason I can't go back in and delete the other pages. So you only want page 1. You're also it's going to give you, after bar, it's going to give you combinations of nouns and adjectives, a noun and a description. And in Spanish, you're going to, anything that talks about hotel has to obey what hotel is. Hotel is masculine and it's 1. So the word that talks about it would also be masculine. But once I make hotel plural, this word elegante will also have to become
Elegantes.
plural. So this is going to give you some practice, and that same rule is going to hold for these descriptive words as well. So you're going to be doing double duty. So it's like this. If I say the red car, when I make it plural, it becomes like this. Those, we don't do that. Reds, cars. We don't do that, but they do. And French does that, and Italian does that, and yeah. Okay, so it's a hard thing to get used to, but everything that talks about hotel, reloj, pez, the fishy swimming in the brook, chico, a kid. When you make it plural, everything that talks about that thing also has to go plural. So it's going to give you some extra things to practice at the end, and I'm not going to tell you what those are now. The most important ones out of this exercise will be 1 through 16. Okay? Yeah, just the singular of the noun itself. And you'll notice these don't use the el, the la, the los, the las, the un, the una, the unos, the unas yet. Okay? Bien? Good? See? Bien? You're going to get that for homework. Do try to write it out. Sí, pregunta. Nisha, dime, tell me.
If we go down on the list,
Mhm.
the hotel
Hotel.
elegante, how do you make this plural? Hoteles elegantes.
Hoteles, I'll give you that an example. Hoteles elegantes.
Okay.
That gives you one example to go on. Hoteles elegantes.
Hoteles elegantes.
Sí, sí.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Gracias.
Bien, de nada. Okay. Fantástico. So that is our little primer on singular and plural. Okay. We're going to take another look at something else, which is feminine versus masculine. This is somewhat more problematic. We took plural because plural is easy. But we also need to know if the noun, the thing we're talking about, is masculine or feminine. Now, this is a bizarro concept for the English speaker. It is totally weird for the English speaker because, except for words like actress, which is kind of like going by the waysides, because English is fast moving towards gender non-specific. Yeah. And even you'll hear actresses referring them to themselves saying, I am an actor, even though it's a woman, right? We used to have words like directress instead of director, and that has long since gone away. But English has very little in the way of masculine, feminine, except for obvious things like man and woman. You know, we have very little of that. Spanish, on the other hand, has lots and lots and lots of that. Tons of that. Every single word. Now, when you're talking about people, it's kind of obvious. So you don't have to worry. But even when you start to get into the whole animal thing, all things have gender. Every single thing, whether it is inanimate or animate, it is masculine or feminine, it is just the way it is. It goes back to the whole Latin thing. Now, the nice thing about Spanish is that sometimes, but not always, sometimes you have little rules that help you look at hear a noun. Oh, I hear this noun. And the very last sound of that noun, it tells me if the word is masculine or feminine. So we're going to take a look at that. How can you tell? Sometimes, because it's not 100%. How can you tell if a noun is masculine? How can you tell if it's feminine? Do not feel you must take copious notes. You will get the link to this page and you can print it out. If you're the type of person that muscle memory of actually writing helps you, go ahead, but just kind of be a sponge and absorb right now. Often, but not 100%, the last letter of the noun might tell you what gender it is. If the noun ends in the letter O,
Masculine.
it is usually masculine, but not 100%, but very often. So words like libro, it's el libro or un libro,
El libro.
okay? Libro,
Los
book,
libros.
libro ends in an o, libro, so it's masculine. El libro, the book, un libro, a book, okay? Bolígrafo. Bolígrafo is a long word they use only in Spain, but bolígrafo is a pen, okay? In Spain, it's pen. And it ends in o, so it's masculine. Refresco. Refresco means a soda, okay? Refresco ends in o. It's masculine. El refresco, un refresco, okay? The word for ice cream is helado. You'll notice I didn't say the, yeah, helado.
Helado.
Helado. Helado ends in o, so it's masculine. El helado, un helado, and ice cream, the ice cream. Okay, so most, but not 100%. The big glaring awful exception to this rule is the word mano. Mano means, you may have heard our English word manual labor means work that you do with your hands. Okay, that comes from the same thing in Latin, manual. Mano is, looks like it should be el mano, but it's not. It's la mano.
La mano.
Why? I have no idea, ni
I'll tell
idea.
you.
It just is.
Woman.
It's an exception. It breaks the rule, but it is la mano. La mano. Okay. Para que sepan, so you know. Okay. Here's the next big clue. Most of the time, but not 100%, most of the time, if a noun, a person, place, or thing ends in the letter A, most of the time it is feminine. So we have words like Papa, which means potato. Papa. Not papa, but papa. Papa. We have puerta.
Puerta.
Puerta ends in the sound a. The word door, puerta, is feminine. Silla. Silla ends in a. It is a feminine word. Chair is feminine. Música ends in the letter, sound a. Música is feminine, music. Patineta is a skateboard. Patineta. Patineta ends in a. It's feminine. It just is. Okay. Here's another little clue. It's why it's, well, actually, it's number 3. Clue number 3. Things that end in ion.
Ion, nación.
And more specifically, S-I-O-N. I really should change that to say S-I-O-N or C-I-O-N, because el avión is masculine and el camión is masculine. But C-I-O-N, S-I-O-N, feminine. Boom, feminine. Nación, canción, estación. Nación means nation, canción means song, estación means a season of the year. They are S-I-O-N, C-I-O-N, they are feminine. Nouns ending in D-A-D or T-A-D, 100%, 100%. Cantidad, feminine. Verdad, feminine. Libertad, feminine. Often these correspond to I-T-Y. Cantidad, quantity. Verdad, verity. We say truth. Libertad, liberty. Okay? So T-A-D, D-A-D, if those are the end suffixes, feminine, they just are. Okay? Yeah. Now, sadly, some nouns don't end in O, don't end in A, don't end in sion. Okay, you just have to know, and they just have to be memorized, but you'll get it more as you hear it off and on, off and on. So, el mes, month, it's just masculine. El papel, paper, it's just masculine. El lápiz, pencil, it's just masculine. El estudiante, la noche, la tarde. Okay, I'll have some videos for you to watch on gender that will kind of help you with that. Some of them you just have to know, memorize it, because none of those words there on that little short list end in O or A. So you just have to know. There are some exceptions to the rule, which I have down here. These are exceptions. These are things that end in A, but they're not with the feminine. End in A, and they are feminine, but they use el. Don't worry. But, this is an important word because water you really need to know. El agua is actually feminine, but they can't say l'agua because that would draw out too many A sounds. L'agua sounds too weird. So it's el agua, even though it is a feminine word. It's just the way it is. Okay. El avión, el camión, el mapa, la mano. There are exceptions, okay? And then I have some more. Oh, perdón. Sí, sí.
El agua, you say, is feminine. Does that mean if there was a description around the word, it would be feminine?
So cold water, the cold water. El agua fría.
Yeah.
The word cold has to match. Agua being feminine. Yeah. There are some odd things like that. Muy bien. Okay. And then I've got a couple of other things down here. So you'll get a link to this page. You can print it out. That'll help. You'll have a video to watch that will help you with that. So that's our little blurb on gender. We're going to go into I. We're going to go into I. I. Unless there's another question on gender. Is there another question on gender? And this will come with time. With time, and the more you see it in here, it'll start to click, 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 click. Gender is hard. If you make mistakes with gender, don't have a conniption about it. People will still understand you. The more important thing is to get the vocab right. Nora, tienes pregunta.
In our book, on page 32, this is, they had us practice, he is a lawyer, but the Spanish was just, he is lawyer.
That's right. Sí, Nora, eres
Right.
lista.
And he is
You and
teacher.
Larry get the A stars for the day. Okay, because you have really good questions. En la página 32, on page 32, sí, it says, he's a lawyer. And it says, él es abogado, which really translates literally to he is lawyer. When we use is or are with a profession, Spanish does not bother with a.
Okay,
That's just what they do.
okay,
They don't bother with it.
okay.
It's a thing. And that's why you can't translate word for word.
Right,
Now, if I want to say it's a pencil, I do have to use the
Right.
word a. Es un lápiz. Es un lápiz. It's a pencil. Es un
Un
lápiz.
lápiz. Es un lápiz.
Es un lápiz.
but just not profession.
But if I use it with professions, we don't bother with that. Yeah, the job you do.
Okay,
Sí, bien. Okay. Now, here's the reason things are going to start to really like super uncomfortably knit together. I'm going to put up a quick share screen. And this is very quick. But just know this is part of a bigger topic. And this is something you're going to start to read about this week. It's very uncomfortable because where we use in English a word is or the word are, and those are verbs. They are verbs of being. Oh, yay. Is and are don't talk about an action, but they're still verbs. Verbs are action words, right? However, in English and in all languages, we have verbs of being, just meaning something is there, right? Yeah, is and are. In Spanish, sadly, there is more than one way to say is. There is more than one way to say are. Oh, crap. Okay, so here's a sad fact. It becomes confusing. This means to be, ser. This means to be, estar.
Ah,
This means there is, there are, I. This little word I is going to become very golden and very important. We're going to practice this week and next. I never changes. I. There is, oops, got my fat finger going on there. There are. That never changes. I is always I. Yay! I is constant. Okay, but you're going to learn that in Spanish, sadly, ser and estar go into a whole bunch of forms. Ser becomes soy, I am. Somos, we are. Estoy, I am. Estamos, we are. Eres, you are. Sois, which you don't have to worry about. You'll learn later why. Estás, you are. Estáis, you don't have to worry about. It's the plural of tú. Es, it is. Son, they are. Están, oh, perdón. Está, he is, she is. Están, they are. Oh my God. These ones here. These are the ones that drive people crazy when they are learning Spanish, because English does not have this many distinctions between is and are. We kind of do I am, he is, you are, they are, you guys are, but we don't have that many distinctions that Spanish does. So ser and estar are hard. You are going to start to read about ser and estar next week in chapter 3. You're going to read about ser more specifically. You've already heard estar, like, ¿cómo estás? You've already heard that. ¿Cómo estás? How are you? I'm talking just one people, but when I talk to all of you as a group, I say, ¿Cómo están? How are you guys? Ser and estar talk about changeable descriptions, health, location. Ser talks about identification. What is something? What is that person? What is that thing? Ser also talks about permanent characteristics that tend not to change. But the wonderful, beautiful expression through all these three is I, because I never changes. I is always I. It doesn't matter if you're talking about one thing or a bunch of things, it's always I. Yay! So we're going to use the thing that never changes. Yay! And this is a drill which normally, well, if you were all here together, this would be so much fun. But we got to do this. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going to take some things out. They're mystery bags. They're mystery bags. If I want to talk about, I, folks, just says that something exists. It does not say it's located in a place. It just says it's out there. Why do you need to know this? Because sometimes you need to walk up to somebody. You're in downtown Ciudad de Mexico, and you have a splitting headache, or your spouse is puking in the hotel room, and you want to say, is there a pharmacy around here? Is there a pharmacy around here, right? Hay una farmacia por aquí. Is there a pharmacy around here? You just want to know if it exists around here. And then they're going to tell you like where to go, and they'll point. They'll literally point to you, because all Hispanic people do that. Oh, the first thing they do is you're going to see the finger go. Anyway, I says there is, it just exists. And the question is, ¿qué hay en la bolsa? What's in the bag? ¿Qué hay en la? Oh, un perro, un perro. Hay un perro. Hay un, there's a.
Hay un.
Hay un perro.
Hay un perro.
Hay un
Hero.
perro. Hay un perro.
There is
I
a.
am Carol.
Hay un perro. And there's only one, so it's there's a. And we never say there's the. We never use el, la, los, o las. It's always un, una, uno, una. Okay. Otro ejemplo. Oh, qué magnífico. Pam, pam. Okay. Caballo. ¿Qué hay en la bolsa? Hay un caballo. Hay un caballo.
Hay un caballo.
Hay un caballo.
Hay un caballo.
You're literally going to do this. You just don't know how yet. After about 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you. Okay. Una cosita más. Oh, ¿qué hay en la bolsa? ¿Qué hay? What is there? ¿Qué hay? What exists? ¿Qué hay? ¿Qué hay en la bolsa?
Hay en la bolsa.
¿Qué hay en la bolsa? ¿Qué hay en la bolsa? Oh, hay un oso.
Hay un oso.
Hay un oso.
Hay
And
un
you'll
oso.
notice I've got this underlined so you know it's masculine. Hay un oso. Hay un oso. Hay un caballo, right? Hay un perro.
Hay un perro.
Sí, exacto.
Perro.
Okay.
Hay un
Yes,
oso.
and you're now
Un
frantically
caballo.
asking yourself, oh my God, how am I going to do this next week? But you will, because it will be easy. ¿Qué hay en la bolsa? 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 What's in the
Hay
bag?
un boca.
Oh. We're going to have our first example of plural.
Oh. Class.
Castanets.
Castañuelas.
Oh.
Okay, there are castañuelas.
Castañuelas.
Hay castañuelas. Hay castañuelas.
Las
Hay
castañuelas.
castañuelas.
Hay castañuelas.
Castañuelas.
Hay castañuelas. I, even though it's plural, because it doesn't matter. It's the only verb that doesn't matter. Yay. Qué magnífico. Okay. Ah, ¿qué hay en la bolsa? ¿Qué hay en la bolsa? Ah, perdón. Mejor. Better. Okay. Monedas.
Monedas. Monedas.
Ay,
Monedas.
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 Coins.
Monedas.
Coins.
Monedas.
Hay monedas.
Monedas.
Hay monedas.
Hay monedas. I might say hay unas. There are some. Hay unas monedas. Hay unas monedas. Or maybe just hay monedas. Hay monedas. Bien. Magnífico. Again, you are in a panic saying, my God, what does she mean? I'm doing this for homework. Yes, you will be. Van a ver. You're going to see. Okay. Bien.
Ah,
Dinero.
Euro. Okay. Yeah. Technically, euros. But in a very general sense, this is money, right? Una palabra importante, a really important word. Dinero.
Dinero. Dinero.
Dinero.
¿Qué hay en la bolsa? Hay dinero.
Hay dinero.
Hay dinero.
Dinero.
Hay dinero.
Hay dinero.
Hay dinero. And you know dinero is masculine because the last sound is an O.
Oh.
Just like money in English is just, is there a word monies? Yes, there is. How often do you use that word monies? If you read a financial journal with some technical thing from, an economic magazine that might have monies, but you never use monies. Okay, it's dinero, and that's always dinero. Okay, bien. ¿Qué hay en la bolsa? ¿Qué hay en la bolsa? Uy, ¿qué hay en la bolsa? And it's more than one. Lápices.
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 Lápices. Lápices.
¿Cómo se dice? How do you say? ¿Cómo se dice? There are pencils. Hay lápices.
Lápices. Lápices.
Hay lápices.
Hay lápices.
Hay lápices. Bien, bien, bien. If I had, ¿dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Uy, a ver.
Marilyn,
Sí, dime.
would it be, we're wondering about the la before pieces, because there were more than one pencil. Would it be las? Or
No. Oh, bien. Okay. With I, we won't use el, la, los, las. We'll only use, sometimes we don't use anything, but we can use un, una, unos, unas. Lápices, the la doesn't mean feminine. The la is part of the noun. That means pencils. Lápices. The la is part of the noun.
okay.
So it's hay unos, some, unos lápices. Hay unos lápices. Okay. Some people might drop the unos in this case. They might just say, hay lápices. Hay lápices. There are pencils. Okay. But the la is part of the noun, the name for this item. Okay. It is not the la of the. Yeah, see? Claro? Is that clear? Okay. Magnífico. No son lápices. They are not pencils. They are pens. They are pens, which is not the same as pencil, right? See? Correcto. Okay. Entonces, clase, muy bien. ¿Qué hay? En México se dice pen, pluma. So plural, it becomes plumas. Okay, I'm going to cover this up for now. plumas.
Plumas.
Hay plumas.
Hay plumas.
Or
Hay plumas.
hay unas plumas. Hay
Hay
unas
una
plumas.
pluma.
Unas plumas.
Hay
Hay
una
unas
pluma.
plumas. Bien, vale. In Spain only they call these bolígrafos, and they shorten it to boli, because bolígrafo is along with boli.
Boli.
So bolis or bolígrafos, or okay. But pluma ends in an a. It's a feminine word. Hay unas plumas. Bien. Okay. Vale. Muy bien. Muy bien. Okay, I'm going to give you, oh, no, un second, más. We'll do a few more examples before I give you the mystery assignment. My cheapo example. Oh, Easter egg time. Eggs. You know these cheapo things that you hide around your backyard for the kids? Yeah. Okay. Eggs. Eggs. We ignore the H. Huevos.
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 Okay.
Huevos.
There are eggs. Hay huevos.
Hay huevos.
Huevos. Or we might put the
Hay
unos in there.
huevos.
Hay unos huevos.
Hay una.
Hay unos
Unos.
huevos.
Unos huevos.
Magnífico. Magnífico. Ok. Huevos. Bien. Vale, magnífico. A ver. Ok. Un ejemplo más. You go for Mardi Gras. Hopefully you don't do it. Yeah. Yeah. You know, yeah, these cheapo things they use for Mardi Gras. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sí. ¿Qué hay en la bolsa? ¿Qué hay en la bolsa? What's in the bag? Collares.
Collares.
Necklaces. Hay collares.
Hay collares.
If I want to inject that word some, hay unos, this happens to be masculine, hay unos collares. Hay unos collares. Okay, bien. Vale. Now, you'll notice if we take away the ES, which means more than one, and I just go to one lonely one, collar ends in an R. You just have to know it's el collar.
El collar.
There's no clue in the spelling of collar to tell you masculine. Although a lot of words that end in an R wind up being masculine, but you know, actually I think I do have a video I can send your way that talks about that. Okay, so really useful. That video you watched last week with ¿Qué hay en la nevera? What's in the fridge? Go back and watch that one more time because it has lots of good clues. You know, again, it'll kind of review what you know about that. Just says that something is out there. It's not used to say it's on State Street next to no, it's not that specific. It just says it's out there. It exists. Yeah? Okay. Pregunta. Question hay. Una pregunta de hay, ¿no? I'm going to give you a snapshot idea of what you will be doing for tarea. I want you to read chapter 3, capítulo 3, in here. Chapter 3 is going to talk about plural of nouns. It's going to talk about numbers 1 through 20, but we're probably going to take 1 through 30 next week. And numbers is going to take probably 3 sessions. Numbers are essential for communication because you need to know addresses, phone numbers, prices. So many things use numbers in our lives. So numbers are going to be is going to be a topic we're going to take over probably 3 different lessons. So chapter 3 is going to talk about numbers, but it's going to confine it to, you know, a smaller group of numbers. It's going to talk about plural. It's going to talk about forms of that verb ser. Ser is used to mean to be, to conjugate, and used with a you know, talking about a thing. Ser is used to identify who or what something is, and it is used to talk about professions. It's you know, like what you do for a living. It's used to talk about characteristics that are kind of not easily changeable of things or people. They're going to throw in another verb, tener. You're going to see a little bit of that tengo or tiene or tienes, and that know that when you see that T verb, it just means somebody has, like has a family member. Okay, so you're going to read this chapter. You're going to record your sounds. You're going to try out that little page with the plural thing, making some nouns plural. You'll have some videos to watch. Oh, okay. Here's the big mystery thing. You're going to kind of mimic this drill. So you say in full-blown panic. How do I do that? You're going to talk about what's in your pocket, what's in your fridge. You're going to pick something very limited. I want you to pick 3 items, three items that just exist somewhere. Like what's in your purse, what's in your pocket, what's in your wallet, what's in what's on your shelf, what's in your fridge, like the fridge video. And just 3 things. I don't want you to make them complicated things, you know, that you have to look up gobs and gobs of vocabulary for. But what you typically might carry in your pocket, in your purse, in your briefcase, have on your shelf, okay? 3 things. And I want you to use I. I want you to use I. So, you know, you might have, you might have hay dinero en el bolsillo. Hay dinero. There's money. You might have hay llaves. There are keys in my pocket. You might say hay un pañuelo. There's a Kleenex.
Hay jazas.
Pocket. Yeah. See. Yeah. Okay. So, you can pick anything, but keep it limited to 3 and be prepared to come and bring those items. And, you know, it has to be something small enough to show. Yeah. Could even be something that you're wearing on your person. But I just want you to practice using I. And we'll run through that real quickly. If you need to look up a word, because, you know, you're probably going to need to do that. Look at wordreference.com. And I'll put that in the email as well. That's the best place to look and see, do I have the right word? But I want you to keep it to really common stuff. Bien?
Sí.
Okay, vale, magnífico. Como siempre, as always, I will give you the audio for chapter 3 in the email as well. Bueno, ¿tienen alguna pregunta? Do you have some kind of question before we leave today? Sí, son las 11. No, nada.
Is my camera on?
Perdón?
Is my camera on?
It is not, but we can hear you.
That was not intentional. I don't know what to do.
It's okay. Some people don't. Some people are having a bad hair day and they just put up a picture of something else.
Oh, wait.
Seriously, I have some people, it's like, I can't have anybody look at me today, Marilyn. And I'm like, that's good.
Oh,
No importa, doesn't matter. Okay. Vale, fantástico. So you're going to have a little show and tell next week to bring in.
There you
And
go.
this will be your first venture out into building a baby sentence, which is okay. Muy bien.
Gracias.
So
De
Gracias.
nada, you're welcome. De nada. Si ustedes tienen, if you guys have, si ustedes tienen una pregunta, a question para mí, escríbenme un email. Yeah, if you get stuck on anything, send me a quick email. Todo está bien. Everything's good. ¿Vale? Okay.
Vale.
Mhm.
Muchas gracias.
De
Hasta
nada.
luego.
Hasta luego. Hasta martes. Till Tuesday. Hasta martes.
Hasta martes.
Hasta martes. Muy bien. Que tengan buena semana. Have a good week.
You too.